this is Grandmaster Damian Lemos here for iChess.net, and let's learn how to move pieces. And we'll start with pawns. During the previous video, we learned how to set up a chessboard, how to place pieces, and we know pawns, they go on the second rank, they go in front of the other pieces, and usually white makes the first move. He usually starts with a pawn move. So pawns, they go one step forward, but on your first move, you can move it twice if you want. This would be one step forward. This move is absolutely legal. But if you want, on the first move, you can move it 2 steps forward. That is only for the first move. For the first move for this pawn. Suppose black plays this move, 1 step. He could also play this, 2 steps, but imagine he just goes 1 step. Then this pawn, if I want to, I can move it 2 steps forward. I can also move it 1 step. But at your first move, for each pawn, you have the right of moving it 2 steps forward. And of course, if you want to move it just 1 step, you can also do that. So pawns, once you moved your pawn 2 steps forward, so you can see, after that, you can only advance it 1 step at a time. You cannot do something like this. You can do this, but once I play this, you cannot jump 2 squares like this. This is not allowed. On the other hand, if you want to do this, first move, 2 steps, I play this, you can advance 1 step forward. This is allowed. So, moving pawns, it's real simple. First move for each pawn, you can advance 1 or 2 steps. That's easy to remember. After that, you can only advance 1 step forward. Pawns, they don't go back. Remember that. If you play this, and again I play something like this, you cannot go back with a move like this. This is not allowed. So moving pawns, it's easy. We need to know how they capture other pieces. This is a good example. As white, you make your first move, e4, and then black, imagine I play this, d5. White, he can capture my pawn, like this. It is not the same. When you advance a pawn, you advance it, but when you capture, it's like you go to a file which is on the side and you can just take it, like a diagonal, and it has to be 1 step. So if I have a pawn here and yours is here, you can definitely do this. On the other hand, if I play this and your opponent plays this, pawns are in front of each other. You cannot take it. It has to be here or here, on a diagonal, on a side file. So let's do it again. I play this, my opponent plays this. Now pawns, they are facing each other, so as white, you can definitely take it. It is a diagonal, and it's 1 step. So imagine for some reason, as white, you don't take the pawn and you move another pawn. Something like this. You move it 1 step. Black, who's looking at your pawn too, has the right to take, because he's advancing and he's taking a pawn. Once you take a pawn, I know this looks complicated, but you'll get it with enough practice. Let's say I play this, my opponent plays d5. Once you take, you remove your opponent's pawn, and then your pawn occupies that square. It is something like this. And I'll do it again, just in case. We have this position as white. You take this pawn. The pawn that was on d5 leaves the board, and then white pawn lands on d5. It is very simple, and with enough practice, as I was saying, you'll remember this. What else? Well, there is a special rule for your pawns. If any of your pawns reach the 8th rank, where my king and my queen, where my pieces are placed, then you can promote it. I'll put an example. I'll just remove some pieces. Let's say we play a game. First move, you can advance 2 steps, and after that you can just move 1 step at a time, and suddenly your pawn reaches the 7th rank. You're pretty close to the 8th rank. So what happens here is, if it is your turn as white and you want to advance your pawn, what you'll do is this. You place your pawn on the 8th rank, you remove it from the board, and now you're actually promoting a pawn, and that means another piece comes, and actually you choose this. It can be anything but the king. Of course, you cannot promote the king because you already have one, and the king, there's no way to replace it, but usually you like promoting a queen because the queen is the most valuable piece apart from the king. The queen is too powerful, so again, if your pawn reaches the 8th rank, you have the right to promote it. In fact, you have to promote it. You cannot put another pawn here. Once your pawn reaches, you have to either put a queen, a rook, a knight, or whatever you like to promote. There's another rule which is called taking en passant, but we'll talk about this rule on another video, and that's all regarding pawn moves. So now I'll pause the video for a while and we'll come back with the other pieces movement. Okay, so now as you can see, we'll learn how to move rooks. And this is, rooks are pretty straightforward. They move like this, same as ranks and files. You can move it like this. You can move it like this. And the thing is, you can go as far as you like. It's not like pawns that they move 1 step at a time and they can only advance. With rooks, you can go back and forth as much as you want, as long as you have room for it, of course. If there are pieces in between, you cannot jump. You can at least take them, but you cannot jump over pieces. Imagine, okay, you have the rook here and black has a knight on h4. You can definitely take it, but you cannot do something like this. You cannot jump over the knight. You can take it. And, well, rooks, they capture the same way they move. And as I was saying, they move in lines. It's very simple. They don't move in diagonals like this. As we'll see, this is how bishops moves. But rooks, they go in lines. And as long as they have space, they can go as far as they want. So that's very simple to understand, and rooks easy pieces to remember. And now we are talking about rooks. Let me put one last example, and then we follow with the queen. Imagine we have this and you're playing white. You can definitely take this pawn, and now this guy, which is on a5, you can take it with this rook. Again, we are moving in lines, but imagine you don't want to use this rook. You can also use this one, because rooks, they move in lines, and they also capture at the same way they move. So rooks, again, they are easy. And by the way, we have an article, a link you'll find below the video, and there's all the information you need, you'll find it there. Now the queen. The queen is definitely the most powerful piece we have. I mean, the king is, but talking about power, the queen is the best you have. And the queen is the same as the rook. You can definitely move it in lines, like this, same as a rook, and it also has the ability to move as a bishop. And well, in this scenario we'll also learn how bishops move. Queen moves in diagonals as well, something like this. And you can go as far as you like. If you want to move one step, that's fine. If you want to go from here to this square, you can go. It is a diagonal. You can do it. If you want to move the queen as a rook and you want to come here, you can. It is a straightforward line. If you want to move the queen here, you can. It works like a rook. You can. If you want to come here with the queen, you can. As you can see, it is a long diagonal, and same as the other pieces, the queen captures the same way it moves. So if, for instance, I have pawn here, and suppose I have my knight here, well, you can capture my knight. You use the queen, you move it as a rook, you take it. Let's see that again. You take my knight, and my knight leaves the board, and the queen occupies that square. So now the queen, it cannot take any of my pawns, but I'll just make it work. My queen comes here. Now the queen is pretty close to these two guys. So then you can play something like this. My pawn leaves the board, the queen occupies the square, and regarding this pawn, you also take it, and again, the queen captures same way it moves. Bishops, easy. We have a light squares bishop when we start the game, and we also have a dark squares bishop. You'll never find something like this in a game, like two bishops on the same diagonal. I mean, they cannot be yours. I mean, maybe your opponent has a light squares bishop as well, but you won't find two white bishops on light squares. This doesn't make any sense. I mean, your starting position, you clearly see a light squares bishop and a dark squares, and they move in diagonals. Like this. Like this. This is possible too. As long as you move your bishop in a diagonal mode, then you're good. They can go back and forth. Not as pawns, they can only advance. The other pieces, they can advance and go back. that's an advantage. And again, bishops, they capture same way they move. Imagine as black I have a rook here, then this bishop can definitely take it. Bishop comes here. As you can see, it is at diagonal, and I remove my rook. The bishop occupies this square. Same if I had a rook here, the other bishop can definitely take it. And yeah, my rooks are gone. So bishops, as I said, diagonals, and remember, you can advance with your bishops, but if you like to go back, you can also do it as long as it is, as long as you move it in diagonal mode. You can go back one step, you can go back two, and if you want to go as far as this, you can also do it. And bishops, they don't jump. I mean, you cannot jump over pieces. Imagine you have something like this, and this bishop, you cannot come here because there are 2 pawns on the way. Best you can do is this, or you can try taking this pawn, but you can never do something like this because the bishop would be jumping over these 2 pawns. Same as if I had a rook here, you can definitely take this pawn. Rook moves in lines, you can do that, but you cannot move the rook here. In order to do so, you have to get rid of my pawn first. So we know how to move bishops, rooks, pawns, and now let's follow with, okay, the king is simple. It's very simple. The king goes one step at a time, any direction, back and forth. So if we have the king here, you're actually on e3, you're white, or let's suppose we have the starting position, which is king e1. You can play your king here, 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 or here. One step. You can't go more than that. So you can play this, you can play this, 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 or this. You can move it in files and diagonals, but one step at a time. Suppose you have the king here, then you can go back. You can definitely do this. You can move it as a bishop one step. You can do this, this. We saw going back. You can go to the side like this or this, and you can also go up this, this, or this. Each time you move the king, you can only move it one square. So that's easy to remember. The king also captures the same way he moves. So if, for instance, I have a rook here and the king is here, well, same as a pawn would do, you can take it. Because, if you want to capture something with your king, it has to be very close. I mean, if my rook is here, we have some squares of distance. I cannot capture it, so it has to be close. Imagine I have something like this. My king can choose whether to capture his rook, or I can also capture this pawn. It is very close. We know the king moves as a rook or as a bishop, but only one step at a time. So now, the most complicated piece, maybe you know this or you heard of this, the knight. We place the knight, we'll place the knight on the original squares, and knights, they are complicated because they move, it is called in L, like the letter L. Well, they move in that fashion. And one trick is the knight jumps as well. I'll explain in a few seconds how to move the knight. There's a rule which is 2 and 1 or 1 and 2. And we also have to remember the L concept. So for instance, you have the knight here, you can do 2 and 1 or 2 and 1. That is an L. As you can see, this is an L. I'll just try drawing this. I'll use my other hand just to make this clear. The knight advances, 2, 1. This is an L. My knight was previously here, so this is what I did. I did an L, and my move finishes here. I can also move the knight here, because that would be an L. 2, 1, knight f3. That is an L as well. So 2, 1, the 2 plus 1 rule, it's easy to remember. I advance with my knight, 2 and 1, the knight lands here, or 2 plus 1, the knight lands here. What about the 1 plus 2? That would be 1 plus 2. This is allowed as well. And as you can see, it is an L. This is another L, 1 plus 2. I'm doing an L with my knight, and there we go, knight to e2. So basically, I know it's complicated, this requires some practice, but this knight has 3 possible squares at the moment. This, and this. This, and this. e2, f3, and h3. Regarding this knight, it is basically the same. I can do 2 plus 1, the knight lands here. I can do 2 plus 1, the knight lands on c3. Or I can do 1 plus 2, the knight lands on d2. Another rule I remember is, if your knight is on a dark square, then it always lands on the opposite square. I mean, if it's dark, it's going to land on light squares. On the other hand, this knight, it's on a light square, it should land on a dark square. There's no other way. A light square's knight can never land on another light square. That's impossible. So, a lot of rules to remember regarding the knight. Basically, it moves in L, and it also goes back and forth. I mean, you can do something like this. If your knight is here, you can also advance, go up. It is complicated. You need a lot of practice, and the knights, they also capture the same way they move. So, for instance, I'll place some pawns to show you. The knight captures in L. I can do 1 plus 2. The knight lands here. I can do 1 like this, plus 2. The knight lands here. I can do 1, 2. I can do 1 and 2. I can also do the other rule, the 1 plus 2. It should look something like this. My knight can do 1 plus 2. The knight lands here. 1 plus 2. The knight lands here. And of course, 1, 2, and 1, 2. So, again, as I said, it's tough to catch all this on your first go, but if you practice a lot, you'll definitely get it. And I also recall saying the knight jumps. In fact, in your first move of the game, you usually have something like this, pawns in front, knights here. Well, we have other pieces, of course. I'll just put them all to make this clear. The knights, they can jump. No matter if you have pieces in front of your knight, you can still move it. So for instance, this knight, we said 2 plus 1, the knight lands here. This move is available. You can do it. If you want to do 2 plus 1, you can also move the knight here. What you cannot do is move your knight if you have a pawn or another piece for that matter on that square. So you cannot do this because the pawn is there. But if this pawn moves, then black plays something, then this square is free, and I'm talking about the e2 square which is in front of the king. Then the knight can do 1, 2, the knight lands there. As long as the square is empty, your knight can go there and you can jump. You can definitely jump with your knights. The other pieces, they cannot. So that's another easy rule to remember. And with all the pieces, there's another move we have to learn. This is some advanced stuff already, but this is good to know. You probably heard of the concept of castling. Castling means moving your king and your rook, and that usually means putting your king in safety. You can castle as long as you have empty squares between your king and your rooks. So now you're watching this from the white's point of view, and we have 2 castles. One of them is castling kingside, which is here, and the other one is castling queenside. And we call this queenside because the queen is there usually. Now the queen is gone, but this is the queenside and this is kingside. We have other ways of naming this, which is castle short and castle long. And this is also easy to spot. Castling short is this: we only have 2 squares between the king and the rook, and castling long is here because we have 3 instead of 2. So let's see how castling looks like. In a single move, you'll move 2 pieces. The king moves 2 squares, in this case to the right, and the rook follows the king. So it is as simple as that. In just one move, you do something like this. Then this counts as a single move. The king is more protected, and the rook follows. So if you want to castle long or queenside, which is here, the king also moves 2 steps, in this case to the left, and the rook follows like this. So we'll talk about this in other videos. This is kind of advanced, but I just wanted to take the chance to teach this too, because castling is a legal move and definitely something we want to use to get a good position. So that's all for this video. Hopefully you found this useful. Hopefully you could learn something. And of course, I want to see you guys during my next chapters. Thank you.